Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Hull and Back podcast. Tonight we've got a full house. We're joined by Nathaniel, Will, Joe and Anne. How are we doing, guys? You all right?
Who's Joel?
He's not been on the podcast for a while. Forgotten what
I don't know who Joel is.
Being very busy.
Exactly. Very busy man. We're recording on a Monday, and Mondays don't really suit Joel, so thanks for turning up tonight, Joel. But before we start any podcast, we'd like to talk about our partners. So I'm going to start off very quickly with FanHub. I forgot to mention last couple of times, so I'm completely sorry, guys, who run FanHub. But for anybody who doesn't know what FanHub is or what they do or anything like that, FanHub is an app that you can download either through Android or Apple, and you are able to follow your team on there. And the news you get through there isn't the mainstream media. It's not the stuff you see in the Sun, the Daily Star, or anything like that. It is local journalists, essentially. So you even still won't see like the local newspapers in there. For example, for Hull City, we don't have the Hull Daily Mail. You've got local journalists, people like ourselves that are just making material from fans for fans, essentially. And that's exactly what it is. Inside there, you're able to see your opposition's feeds, so you can see what their latest news is, maybe get a bit of a head start on what's going on at the weekend for the game you're against. And the more you're on the app, the higher you are scored. The higher you are scored, the more chance you've got of winning tickets to a game at the end of the month.
And
really
free merch now.
And free merchandise as well. Cheers, pointing that out. Secondly is Hull City Retro. I mention these a lot, and I really should write this down because I forget every time. But what they do is they recreate shirts from the past. So I think currently they've got like the PepsiCo shirts out at the moment. Ant's branding one for us right now. These shirts are replicas, but they're only £50 a pop. So at £50 a pop, it is stupidly cheap to get something as close to as authentic as you can possibly get. I think it's $3.99 or $6.99 delivery. Correct me where I go wrong, but you can't really grumble at all. To say if you used to get an authentic, you're probably looking about £200 to £300 online. So it's definitely worth grabbing your hands on one. Moving on to the Hull Badge Man, Darryl does a cracking job. He's the guy who stands outside the stadium selling badges. You know, you can't really word it more simpler than that, but it's a bit of a dying art. So it's really important that as fans, on your way in, I think it's only £3 a badge. Just get yourself involved, buy a badge, and collect them whatever you want. But support local fans because he does a lot for the city. And lastly, to point out is Charlie Spalding, filmmaker. Charlie goes a little bit extra than the rest of our partners because Charlie funds our StreamYard. So he pays for us to be able to do the visual content that we're doing right now. Charlie's worked with a lot of really big brands, and I mention the same names every time, and I'm going to mention them again. Jackie Abbott, Adidas, these are household names. So he's clearly got a decent portfolio. So check him out again. Mainly works within the motorsport, but again, thank you very much to our partners and our sponsors. Really appreciate it. So before we move on to reviewing the Coventry game, what I want to do is say a massive thank you to everybody who tunes in and listens to the podcast. We're all on tonight to say a massive thank you, so really do appreciate it. I think the average at the moment is around 106 regular listeners now. That's phenomenal. To say we just do this for a bit of fun, we're far from experts and we just enjoy doing it. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. But we will move on to from the good times of talking about how many people listening to us to the sad times that was Saturday, and that was Coventry City, the Sky Blues visiting the MKM Stadium. What did you all make to it?
Rubbish.
Absolute gutter dog shit.
It's just
we are
typical
the
City.
Tigers without a bite, aren't we? We are the Tigers without a bite. So who wants to start us off? Nathaniel, do you want to give me your version of events?
Yeah, okay. So, I guess, we were terrible, of course, but it wasn't as if we didn't have any of the ball and they were conceding lots of chances. Maybe the first 10 minutes, we could have been 3-0 down, I think. We had the goal and then one chance where there's no one defending our whole half of the pitch. And is it Godden was one-on-one and had that saved. And then Gyökeres had one saved. But other than that, Coventry weren't really good either. So the game was there for the taking. Again, another game against a team that isn't that great. They're in the top, however, is it four for a reason, but away from home, their record's not good. And we were just atrocious. We couldn't pass the ball. And I had tickets right next to, right behind the dugout. And this is ever so slightly tiny defence of McCann in terms of that. Judging on the last few games and how it's going, although I think he's out of his depth, I think a lot of the players are as well. I mean, at times, especially conceding the early goal, we had no confidence, and a lot of them don't look ready for this level. They can't pass a football sometimes, which is the bare minimum. So yeah, I thought it was really atrocious, and even if we got a better manager in, it would still be a struggle because I think the personnel we've got is not really good enough.
I think
might be controversial.
I think I'll go against you a little bit. I don't think we'd be much higher at league if we had a different manager and someone maybe who had the ability to switch things up a bit. But no, I think you're definitely right in terms of the players are not top-end championship level, but they're definitely not relegation fodder, which is where we're sitting right now.
I think some of them are, though. Because they've not really shown that they're not.
In a 4-3-3, some of them are, in that formation.
The lack of ideas from McCann.
Pardon?
I said it's the lack of ideas from McCann. There's no direction, so they have nothing to kind of move forward with. They're just kind of confused when they're on the ball, sort of. So they're just looking for an easy pass, and they don't have any idea going forward. And that's down to the manager. I think a new manager with fresh ideas will get the players to invest in their tactics, and then we will shoot up the league.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel really bad for. Sorry, Nathaniel, go on.
Or maybe their kind of lack of championship experience or quality wouldn't be exposed as much under a better manager. But McCann is just playing the same system as he did in League One. So it's not really improved at all tactically. So they're League One players and they're playing a League One system as well.
I think it's tough, and at the moment I feel sorry for a couple of the other lads because this really is their year to kind of like come on at that next level. They had the League One, and they played really well in League One. This is their next level, and unfortunately, this could break some of their careers in terms of this year is perfect for them to step on. I feel bad for the likes of King Lewis Sport, and I mentioned the tweet about it the other day, and I think as much as Hull fans are going to hate this, it's probably the best for his career for him to move on now. Because if not, he's going to get stuck still, and he'll get stuck behind. He'll get left behind, and it's the wrong time for him to be doing that. Like it's ever a good time to get left behind, but yeah, it really is just really hard. Has anyone got anything to add on to that?
Yeah, it's a weird one because I always see people say like our squad ain't good enough. It won't be much different under any manager. I reckon there's at least 5 or 6 other teams that we're on par with in terms of budget, quality of the players at their disposal. Look at Blackpool. Would we say that Blackpool are a far better side than us? I don't think they are in terms of quality. And look how well they're doing, because their managers found a system and a way to get his players results. He changes it up. He's got variation. He sometimes plays 3 at the back. He sometimes plays 4. And this is what you need to have. You're in the second tier of English football. You've got to have variation. You play. You've got to have tactical depth. And the problem with McCann is he has no tactical depth. Now, we don't know 100% whether that is just him being outright stubborn or it's just him being a yes man as orders from the top. Like, that's just up to speculation. We'll probably never know. But the fact of the matter is, we don't ever change it. And we have a couple of times now. We played the 3-5-2 against Borough, and we played second half 3-5-2 against Coventry. And it's interesting to note that twice now, because Sean McLaughlin's come out today as well and said that they felt comfortable in the 3-5-2, a lot more comfortable than they did in the other system. And Bernard said it before. And I've noticed at the minute that a lot of what players are saying is contradicting what McCann's saying, because he comes out and he says things like, "Oh, it was a dressing room decision to ban Bernsey," for example, and all the players like Elder came out and said it's all part of football. Like, we don't see it as negative. You've got to come and take responsibility because we're the players, we're the guys on the pitch, we're supposed to be doing it. So it just seems like, to me, in my head, I think McCann's lost the dressing room. Personally, I don't think the players are playing for him. I mean, we scored 9 goals. We're the lowest scorers in the entire football league. The only team to not be in double figures. It's embarrassing. I mean, and we've got players that scored. Our front 3 scored 50 goals between them. Yeah, it was a league below, but you should still imagine that they're on more than, 2 that they're all on at the minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
I don't know.
to add on to that, we've got the lowest conversion in the full league with a 4% conversion, which is 9 goals from 222 shots.
Jesus Christ!
Which is, I think, which is why fans are so frustrated. Like, surely you've got staff, you've got analytical staff that are in McCann's ear saying, "Look, this is how bad we're underperforming in this area. This needs to change. Why aren't we getting the ball into that area? Why aren't we scoring in these positions? What needs to change?" Like, I know Keane Lewis Potter seems to have been sort of exempt from any sort of criticism because he's, a star boy at the minute. But I also back him in a sense that I think he's single-handedly trying to take the burden of the team. Yeah, he's trying too hard, almost like he's saying, right, I'm going to try and score from here, and he'll blast it over from 30 yards because he doesn't trust anybody else around him. And you can't blame him, because what have we seen to suggest that he can trust the players around him? You've got Wilkes at one side, who's probably stood on the halfway line when Keano's on the edge of the box. So we're just in sort of situation where the players seem to be in some sort of limbo, and the management or the coaching staff don't be able to seem to change it. And it's just, how much control does McCann have?
And did you know that Keane Lewis Potter's on the same amount of goals this season so far as what he was last season?
Yeah,
it's mad to say where he finished. Nobody knew that. Yeah, he's underperforming. He's in the Championship, a league above, but he's at the same period as where he was. Well, goals scored as it was this time last season. So, but I think that's in the league. He did play. There was a lot of other games when he had all them Tim Pot trophies. So I think there's a trophy every week, don't they? And they had 3 rounds. It was crazy. So, what was missing then? What was missing? I'll ask you, Will, what was missing?
It's the same old thing. It's the lack of cutting edge.
You can't
the
get
lack
this
of cutting edge completely.
Every week.
I know, that's the thing. That's what was missing again. It feels like you're repeating yourself constantly because it's always the same issues every week.
I feel like we don't move the ball fast enough. Around the back, really
no, we don't. No.
When it comes to getting forward, we don't move the ball fast enough. And the movement, honestly, it was like a guess who board the other day, because it was all just stood still. Honestly, it was ridiculous. Stupid. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. But that's what you got to work with, and that's when you say the only people that are moving are the people that are on the ball. So that's why you see the likes of KLP try and take a shot from 25 yards. It's his only option. No one's moving. Not every movement has to take a pass or receive the ball, but a movement does create space, and they're not even doing that for each other. It's really difficult. I just can't understand.
Well, I said it on a previous episode, didn't I? That you look at the system we're playing this season. We're playing the same formation, but we're not playing the same way as we did last season. And I don't know. It's last season we seemed to, like the midfield, especially. I know Honeyman might not still be, fully fit at the minute, and we missed him in the last game. And it's that dynamism in midfield and the ability to take the ball from the back and drive it forwards. We're not doing. We're passing it into the middle, and then it comes straight back to the centre back. There's no outlet. There doesn't seem to be any passing channels. There's no partnerships. There's a lot of it's disjointed, and then we just end up hitting it long, and then the ball comes straight back to us.
The only 2 players that have done that since last season, Matt Smith and George Munkar, and both of them don't play anymore. Munkar comes on and plays on the wing, but that's not the same thing. You want someone to pick the ball up through the middle and drive it, and he did it against Preston brilliantly. He did it against QPR brilliantly until they sent off, and he's just not being back there. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But it's like whatever makes sense, we're not allowed to do. That's how it comes across. But I'll go around you one at a time, and I'll ask you who was your player of the day. Actually, give me your player of the day and the worst player of the day from the front. I'll start with you, Joe.
I think player of the day probably. I don't know if anyone will agree, but Sean McLaughlin when he came on, he seemed to calm down the defence a lot. He looked more composed. I put it on Twitter as well. He looked more composed. He just looked like a more established centre half at this level compared to Jacob Greaves. And I think him being there gave Greaves a little bit more freedom to kind of move forward a bit and try and play his game. I don't think Greaves in a back four at this level works.
Maybe not yet. Yeah, you're right.
For worst player, I could pick a bunch, really.
I've got my pen on, mate. Don't worry.
Controversial, but Josh Emmanuel was rubbish, I think.
I
think everyone was calling for him to start a game, and he's not grasped his opportunity that he got given.
There.
Louis Coyle will go straight back into that starting lineup against West Brom, and deservedly so, because Emmanuel was not what we expected. He's not what we all built him up to be when we were calling for him to be put into that team. So for me, I think Emmanuel probably was the worst player on the pitch.
But could that be due to like lack of match sharpness because he's not had a run in the team, has he? He's played one game here, then been out again for a few games. Would you not try and keep him in the side for a few games to try and get that rhythm?
I think Joel agreed with it. It was the basics that were missing. It was the basics that were missing from him on it.
Yeah.
I mean, the crossing at the right time. It wasn't so much he was out of position, not match sharp. It was like some of the positions he got the ball in. That was the opportunity to put the ball in the box, and he didn't do it. You know, he'd take an extra touch. The defender gets back, and then the cross opportunity's gone. Or you're getting a throw in as opposed to a ball in the box. Those little things where he was letting us down.
I do feel like I'm being a bit harsh on him, to be fair, because I think there will have been worse players on the pitch. But for what we expected of him and what we were calling for, he wasn't anywhere near that level, and that stood out the most compared to the other lacklustre performances that were on the pitch.
Peter said the same about Elder as well. Elder wasn't the best. He's pretty lucky at the fact that we've only got one fit left back.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, to be fair, thinking about Elder, I probably would have put Elder as a lot worse than Emmanuel that game. He slipped my mind. I forgot he was even playing.
Exactly. Apart from that free kick and the injury time at the end, I don't think he put anything good in the box. And moving on to you, who stood out? Who was your worst?
I didn't watch it, which I was quite happy about because I was at work. But I did keep up. Sounded like Ingram had a very good game. I think judging by the amount of chances Coventry had, it sounded like Ingram was probably our saving grace that kept it at 1, which is good. And the fact that you see, like Joe said, it's hard to pick a worst, isn't it? I think when you're looking at people that have got jobs to do, none of them are doing it. And I don't want to say Wilkes because I say Wilkes all the time.
To be fair, his first half at Luton and his second half, he was better than he's been all season.
Yeah, I think Doherty was quieter than he usually was. So judging by players' usual standards, and Doc's usually quite consistent, I'd say that he had a poor game for what we've come to expect of him. And he probably admit himself that he weren't as energetic as he has been, or as progressive as we needed. You know, when you're missing Honeyman, you need Doherty to be on form, or else we're not going to create anything with that midfield. So maybe the fact that we didn't create much was because Doc didn't have the kind of game that we've come to expect.
No, it makes sense. You know, by his own standards, you think he's not the best. It makes perfect sense. What about you, Will? What are you thinking?
I would go similar with Joel. McLaughlin, I thought when he came on, the defence, although still not perfect, was just so much better. It just looked so much more confident at the back. And I was really happy Emmanuel was starting. Really, really happy. And he was shit. There might have been people who were worse, I don't know if they were, but he was rubbish. And it really upset me because I was like so happy he was playing. And then he just ruined his chance, possibly, because Grant won't play him next game now.
I don't think that was ever his intention from what he said in the press anyway.
It possibly wasn't, but
he said in his interview, didn't he, that we've got a lot of games coming up, so he wanted to make sure that Coyle didn't play in all 3, so he chose Emmanuel for this one. So Coyle was,
well,
I think,
that may be possible, but he didn't give him any reason to not drop him.
No,
He didn't give him
you've
a
got
reason
to take
to
a
think
chance,
about
haven't you? You've got to give him a question to ask, yeah.
Madness. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I mean, Ingram was the reason why it wasn't 3-0 within 15 minutes, so he gets a good shout. And McLaughlin, he was a brick wall when he came on. He didn't make any mistakes. Started off as a joke because, McLaughlin is a brick wall, but he actually played very well. In terms of who was rubbish, I mean, almost everyone, really. I thought, Lewis Potter, I thought him playing as a midfielder almost was the only time that we actually got any good chances, because he passed it through to Elder and we got a crossing. I mean, I don't know whether any good proper goal scoring chances came from that, but that was like the only time we looked dangerous. So maybe there was.
I remember seeing him.
The best player.
I remember seeing him like at one point in the game. I remember seeing him like deep, like just in front of the back three. I was like, "What's he doing there?" But he'd obviously been moved to the middle, and he was dropping deep to the bottom. You could tell he just felt like he was in foreign territory. Like, what is this? But who was the worst player for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe it was just because I noticed it, but I'll go Emmanuel as well. I don't think he got like one good cross in, whereas Kyle, he's crossing them in all the time. But yeah, he was on the halfway line all the time, which I know you want an attacking fullback to be, but it was far too high, so he got caught out a lot. When he got the ball in his own half, he would take too long on it and like dribble round and not get it clear, which everyone did. I thought they just didn't seem to know what to do when they were put under pressure. And then, I mean, I guess Emmanuel, but the midfield weren't great. I mean, I look at all the highlights for the other championship games, right? And so many goals or goal-scoring chances come from a midfielder just doing a through ball to the attacking players, and then they get a chance. I can't remember the last time he actually had a proper through ball along the ground to a striker to score or to have a shot. It's always a cross or a bit of luck or a set piece. We never just pass the ball forward along the ground, ever.
Because the midfield's too static. There's no one dropping into the spaces in the number 10 role to pick it up and play it in behind. That's the issue. It always has to go wide because they're the only players fucking moving.
It's always wide.
Yeah.
You've got to look at who's going to be on the end of it as well.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And you've got to look at who's going to be on the end of it. You've got either Josh McGuinness, who's not a sprinter, and Tom Eaves, who's not a sprinter. And the only times we've really played balls into the channel is when, I remember it thoroughly against Bournemouth when Tyler Smith played. That's when we played the balls in channels and stretched it.
Where's he gone?
I was going to say Tyler Smith is a sprinter, but isn't involved.
Yeah, he's not injured. He's just not being played.
No.
It's just selection.
Yeah, I'll go for it now then. So in terms of, stood out for me, and we haven't heard this name yet, but he stood out for me in terms of his form for the last few games. And I'm going to say Richie Smallwood, and I never thought I'd say this. Honestly, never thought I'd say this, but he's been solid. A few people blame him for playing Gordon on side, but you've also got to look at the fact that Elder's left a man. So it's one of those debates that can, rightly so be argued both sides. But he's back there, he's doing his job. He maybe hasn't had the shout step out, but he's doing what he needs to do. And I thought he had a really good game. He was unlucky to go off injured at half time, I think, and a bit of a tough one. But it changed the game. It took us 3-5-2. And worst player for me, I think you can put a few in this category. But again, I think just because it was his opportunity to shine and he didn't, I'll go with Manuel. And like you said, he was just sat on the halfway line. And when
with Smallwood, Matt, then how do you rate Smallwood's leadership ability? Because to me, the frailty and the disorganisation at the back four shouldn't be an issue when your captain is that holding midfielder because he can see everything that's around him. I think personally, when you look over a few games, he's focusing too much on his own performance and not inspiring those around him. I know it's tough to compare him to like Ashby, who's amazing, but
I think what you understand with football is a lot of things can have a chain reaction. So, for instance, like Emmanuel and Elder being as high as they are, naturally that's going to create unease at the back. And when you're playing against two strikers, which we did at the weekend, two good strikers that are good at running the channels, you're naturally going to have them defenders getting pulled out wide. And we saw that time and time again in the first half where Greaves got pulled out or Bernard got pulled out and Smallwood had to in. In terms of his job, he's done it correctly. But when you say what he judged leadership on,
that's what I mean. So, say if we play a system that exposes weaknesses of the side, as a captain and as a player who's going to stay at the back and can see the defensive line, don't we think that as a leader he should be saying to say Doherty's gone up, shouldn't he be saying to Cannon, right, you drop in with me, and we've got a back four then, because they're the fullbacks. He needs to be pulling players. He needs to be, organising the defence. And I don't think there is any I'm not saying that it's solely on Smallwood's responsibility. It is a team effort. But you want to see a leader out there scolding players for making mistakes, making sure they're staying in position, saying, right, no, he's gone, so you stay, you come back. There doesn't seem to be any of that from anybody. And the problem at the moment is that Smallwood is the captain. So when you're looking for someone to do that, that's theoretically who should be doing it.
And one of the things you're judging him there on is based on the fact that he needs to control the players around him and talk players through games. And rightly so, that's what you expect from a captain. There's a lot of other things you need as well as a captain and the leader is to set an example. And I think he does set an example, and he has done recently in terms of engaging in play, meeting the ball and stuff like that. Because at the weekend, not many players were doing it, but he was doing it. I lost count of the amount of times he intercepted the ball. It's little things like that he's going to notice for. In terms of captain inability, I think you're probably right. He's probably not as good as what we'd want from a captain. But, if you look at players underperforming their current role and their responsibilities, it's just one of many. Everyone can improve in them areas, can't they, I think? But moving on to the last part then, who stood out for Coventry? Who do you remember going, he's all right?
O'Hare.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Found so much space, didn't he? Found so much space.
We made him look like Messi. He just every single bit of open space that we had, he found, and picked us apart for it. Like that's the kind of player that we're missing. Is someone who can identify dangerous space, drop into it, and receive the ball. I think Honeyman was that last season, and because of his injury record at the minute, we're not seeing a fully fit, fully sharp Honeyman, so we're not getting that.
Exactly, and he's got time blending back into the team as well, and he's understanding the difference in runs that the players are making now, or the lack of runs the players are making now in this league. So yeah, it'll take a while to blend back in. I think that kind of reviews the game, isn't it? Just utterly poor. We had nothing going forward, nothing at the back, stretched wide open, and what was scary for me was Coventry didn't really get out of second gear, and we looked like we weren't going to score. So that's a bit of a worry. I say a big worry. Move on to something a little bit better now. Hopefully, a bit fun, something nice to talk about. And I want to mention. I want to ask you guys actually, what's your thoughts on this? We've got an international break coming up in the imminent future. We've got 2 more games. Premier League's got 1 more game. Owen, would you call him up?
Yeah.
If you're picking players based on form,
yeah, understand you've got Greenwood, Sancho, Rashford, Sterling.
Don't take Sancho.
You've got them 5 players. These are bigger names in throwing. That goes without saying. They have bigger names in him. But does he deserve it? I think so.
Yeah, at least to be in the squad. Maybe not to play.
I mean, if you pick it on form, as Dan said, he has to go.
So what do you think?
I mean, we'll see, won't we? Because Southgate came into the job and said that he was always going to pick a team based on merit, not on names or what club you're at. And he started off doing that, and then he slowly slipped into the old England manager ethos, and then just going, well, this player's, we know how good he can be. He hasn't shown it so far this season, but I'm going to pick him because we know he can be good. Sancho will probably get in the team. He hasn't got a single goal or assist to his name for Man United this season, and he will probably get in the team above Bowen, which is, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it'd be nice if Bowen could get in the side, and he definitely does deserve to. Even above Rashford, to be fair. I know he scored the other
Rashford's
game,
on form now, though. He's got 3 and 4 now, I think it is. He's come back from his shoulder injury, and he looks on fire, to be fair. So I think Rashford deserves.
And then Grealish, you can pretty much count as anywhere across the midfield. You can play him in the centre, so you don't really have to lose a spot to Grealish kind of thing, because you can put him anywhere in midfield. So realistically, he should play
Kane. Despite form,
but Kane's in the middle,
if you're picking him on form, Kane shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Kane should be in the side, but he will be. He's captain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then it gets interesting as to who would he play in front of, because it's got to be the worst time in the world to be an English right back. It's got to be, because you look at who's fighting for them positions at the moment. You've got your Wan-Bissakas, you've got Reece James, Lamptey's back now, Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's probably a few more I'm missing as well off the top of my head.
Reece James,
Reece James.
I'd pick Reece James.
I'd pick Reece James.
Yeah.
And do you reckon, speaking of ex-City players, Vicky Otomori, do you reckon he deserves a call-up?
Yeah.
I don't know how well he's playing.
He's played quite well from what I've heard for AC Milan this season. I think the problem is Southgate's probably not focusing on people abroad unless it was Jadon Sancho.
But he can watch 2-in-1, because he obviously got the likes of Tammy Abraham in Italy now as well. So,
that's very true. Tammy Abraham's probably the most informed English striker.
I mean, hopefully, I really do hope.
Adam Wilson.
Yeah, I just really hope he goes. I hope he gets his cap because it'd be a statement to all young kids, that to just don't stop, keep going, because that's exactly what he's done, hasn't he? He's had chances to move before, and he did the right thing, stayed with us for another year, got some more game time under his belt, and then went at the right time. And I can't sing the kids' praises enough. Well done, Jared, and really hope he makes the squad and gets some minutes as well. Yeah, okay. So to move on from that, another little feel-good factor at the moment. I say little. We put out a club statement, didn't we? This club statement was to say we was in a position of exclusivity for due diligence to begin.
Whatever that means.
For anybody who don't understand what due diligence
it means, it's happening, Nathaniel.
It means it might
for
happen.
anybody who don't know what due diligence means, it's basically the examination of legal paperwork to show that what Allens have said, what they've got in terms of money in the bank, whatever's gone on paper, and what they've agreed in word matches up with what's on paper and what's on the online documents and stuff like that. So he checks over that, and then it comes to the point where they go, hold on a sec, you're dealing in bad faith. Or, yeah, I'm good with that, let's go with it. That's basically what's going to happen. But this can take anywhere to 30 to 60 days. So, I mean, there's no real rush. There's no rush.
Yeah, but if any... well, there's a lot of Twitter accounts, obviously not. We don't know how trustworthy they are, but there's been a few that have been saying we've actually been in the due diligence bit for quite a while already, so there might not actually be that long left.
Yeah,
they believe that the club only did a statement because of the Turkish reports that a fee had been accepted, and the club were like, "Oh, well, we've got to fucking say something now."
Yeah,
I thought they was waiting for one more loss to go. Do you know what was? I'm gonna have to sell that.
No, because if you think about it, it makes sense as to why they never even looked like they were going to sack McCann. Because if they've been talking about a takeover, they're not going to, are they? Because they're not going to pay him compo. They'll wait till the new guys come in and say, right, what are you going to do with that guy?
Yeah. You can pay him. Yeah.
Right then. So, what's everyone feeling about this? Then, I see controversy with this, and the classic phrase is "out the frying pan into the fire." We've seen a blog today on it. It was a really good read, actually. But what are we thinking? Is everyone just happy with the change?
Well, yeah, because without a change, we're dead. Even if it's a bad ownership who comes in, we're probably still in a better position going forward, no matter who comes in, because the Allens will do nothing with the club. Whereas someone who comes in might do something.
What if this has been going on since May? Because this news has been bundled about now since May. What if this has been going on since May? We've wanted to sack Grant McCann for a long time. It's just making Grant look bad. It's making the Allens look even worse. When, in an ideal world, they might have already sacked him by now. That's a what? I think that's a likely what if, don't you think?
Possible.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was at work and Joel sent me an inbox and just put get on Twitter now, and I when your mind never even goes to that position. I never thought it would be I thought it was McCann getting sacked, so I was like, quickly,
I did as well.
Yeah, I was quickly getting on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god! And I clicked on club statement and I read it, and honestly, a tear went down my face. I know it's not done, but like you say, how do we feel about it? The problem is at the minute, ever since the FA said no to Alam changing the name of the club, he's not invested in us. So from that point onwards, what is it, 7 years now? He's not invested, and we've been on a decline. We've seen the best Premier League standard players leave, replaced with loans and freebies and academy graduates. We've gone down to League One, come back up again, and then stuck in that sort of lost rut. And they were never going to get us out of it, and they wouldn't have cared less. There's been too many bridges burnt with the Alams over the years. You know, they could have been heroes, which is the sad thing. They came in and saved us and promised us the world kind of thing, and £10 maximum tickets and whatever, and then spat the dummies out when things sort of when they got told no, which obviously they're not used to, and they've made the fans suffer for that. It can't be any worse unless this guy wanted to spend millions of pounds of money to buy a football club and then risk losing all of that money on purpose just to make us get relegated. You know, it don't make sense for us to get worse. We can't be worse. We are at the lowest point. Attendances are dropping to single figures. You know, it's either we stay with this and we die. You know, we can't. It's not sustainable at the minute. We haven't got enough fans going. And we're not getting enough transfer revenue in.
Yeah, and I think everything's hypothetical at the moment, isn't it? You know, because nobody knows who this guy is. Let's be realistic. There's only a few people that are from the locals. You know, they'll probably know who this guy is and what his real intentions are. So whatever we talk about now is hypothetical, and we're all allowed to have our own thoughts, feelings, opinions as to what we think might happen next. But and nobody's wrong in anything that they'll think or feel. And my personal view on it would be along the lines of we've just had enough of the Allams, and it might be that what we do next could be worse. However, I just want to concentrate on something different instead of concentrating on the crap we've got now. If it's something crap over there, I've not experienced that crap before, so let's have it. You know, let's have a go at that.
New crap.
And that's kind of my exactly.
We don't have a future. The Allams don't want to be here. We don't want them to be here. The club's just toxic from top to bottom. Playing staff are probably feeling it. There's no investment. There's no optimism. It's just we are literally at rock bottom. There's no coming back. Relationship wise, it is just time to move on. And from what Ehab's been replying to messages on his Instagram, I don't know if you've seen him dotted about on Facebook and Twitter. He definitely doesn't want to be associated with this club anymore. It's the best for both parties. And this guy, I mean, everyone's questioning like how much money he's got in the bank or whatever, but we've historically never really had rich owners, barring like our stint in the Premier League, where we got obviously the richest from TV money and whatever and parachute payments. The Allams are probably the richest we've ever had, but they're not investing in us, so it's no point. So this guy, I can't imagine, is buying a football club if he doesn't believe he has enough revenue. Because I believe he owns some sports channels and stuff. I don't know. I've tried to look into it.
He's a bit of a media sort of mogul.
So
I think he's got a lot of steady incomes that he obviously feels could run a football club. And then there's obviously what the club makes itself, because it should be self-sustainable anyway. It shouldn't require outside investment, because if you run it properly, it doesn't need it.
So there's a Turkish guy that my partner knows, and I was talking to him yesterday because we went for a meal, and it sounds like one of these cliche things, and then we saw Messi in the car park. But he was speaking about like how smart this guy is in terms of what he's done with his money. He came from nothing and he's made his way up, and he's made all his money himself. So I'd like to think on that, based on what he's told me, and the thought process of that is, you know, this guy knows how to generate money and not lose it. So he wouldn't put it into something that's died, is my assumption. However, when I first read on this guy and I looked at his Wikipedia page, I thought, well, he's an ex-TV personality, is what I saw. And now he's a TV presenter, and I instantly thought, "Oh, great, we've got the Turkish Ryland Clark," and that's exactly what I thought. But fingers crossed, he's a million miles from that, and he does understand what he's doing, and he wants to move us in the right direction. But
I mean, I'd happily have Ryland Clark in charge of us.
Anything but the Allams.
Yeah.
You know, if it brings fans back, you know, if it brings fans back, and it keeps sort of. I mean, we criticise the Allams for what they've done, but if he sort of, you know, the academy and the quality of players that we're producing at the minute needs to carry on. Like, I don't want him to come in and sort of start cutting that side of it. That would be a disappointment. But if he can come in, lure fans back again, help the club feel like it used to. Like, we're not expecting him to come in and then make a charge for the Premier League. We just want to be how it was. Like, go back to Phil Brown, Peter Taylor era, get the club as a unified fan base again, and the feel good factor back in the stadium. Make people want to go to the ground, because at the minute people are just like we're completely disconnected with the club.
It's really tough to see, because I grew up and all I've seen is good stuff up until this last 7 years. We've come back down again. And I used to go into the stadium with my dad and be talking about. He'd talk to random, he's like, I reckon Stuart Green's going to score first today, and that's the sort of track we have. Whereas now it's all negative, isn't it? It's all, are we sold him yet? What's this gone? Oh, he's done this again. Oh, I can't believe Grant McCann's still in charge. And it's just constant tripe and shit, isn't it? And you just don't want to hear it. You just don't want to hear it. So I think he interrupts you there, Will. I'm sorry.
What do we think to his? Because I've tried to read his quotes, about bringing in Turkish coaches and players and
they've
whatever.
Been mistranslated.
I think they've been
probably.
Yeah, I think it's been massively misinterpreted. I don't know about anybody else. I think he's actually meaning that he wants to own an English club to give more opportunities to Turkish football players and coaches. Obviously, if he deems them good enough, he's not going to buy us and then make the starting 11 and all the coaching staff Turkish. That's just ridiculous.
That wouldn't work.
I think it's a case of it being too. It's like instead of it, the way it's translated, it makes it sound like it's I want all. And what it means is I want some.
Yeah, I think he's imagining that if he owns a football club, he can single-handedly ensure that more opportunities are given to people from his country, which he probably just wants to boost his portfolio. He's a proud guy.
Do you reckon it'll be a bit similar to when the Alams took over and brought in Gedo, Fatih, El Mohammadi, players like that? It kind of died down because two of them are rubbish, but you know what I mean?
It works. If we get a couple of decent Turkish players, it's all right. It works for Wolves.
I don't think you can put that on the Allens, to be fair. I think we're fortunate enough that Elmo followed Steve Bruce. He'd had a good experience with Sunderland, and then
but the Guido and Fatih was the international. But because it was their link with Al Ali
team. He played in the international. El Mohammadi, I believe, also played for Al Ali with them as well. So the connection was already there. I think it was just aided by the Allens. I don't think it was all down on them. Yeah,
but that's what I mean with Asun. I don't know how you pronounce it. We'll learn it. Achun. But I think that's just what will happen with him is he's got contacts in Turkey. So if there's a bright Turkish prospect at a club, he might say, "Do you want to come try your luck in the English league?" kind of thing. We're not going to have a huge influx of Turkish staff and free hot towel shaves on the concourse.
Get out of Iran then?
Yeah, in a sense.
Second person from Everton on loan in January. Sorted. We're getting the goals then.
Right. So, moving on from the takeover, because it seemed to digress a little bit there. I'm going to move on to something a little bit different now, and it's up to you guys. I'll let you guys decide what you want to do next. So I've got two options. We can either do tackle fight night again, and I've written down some players as to who I'd like to put you away, or we can try something a little bit different. I want to test our whole City knowledge, and we'll just go around clockwise. And when you can't answer, you're out in a nutshell.
We like knowledge, don't we? Shall we do some knowledge?
It's the second option.
Yeah, second option then. Okay, so the way this game works, you saw I put in our group chat a little bit earlier, but similar to the five-side thing. However, I'm going to mention a Hull City player. Their surname, the last letter of their surname has to be the next person's start of the surname. So, for instance, if I was to start with George Munker, then Nathaniel, going that way round, would have to say
Randall Williams.
No, Ryan Longman, obviously.
You can't Ryan Longman because that's his first name. It has to be his surname.
So
this is where it gets a little bit difficult.
So it's like Moncare and then it'd be...
So I think I'll start with
Ranocchia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's not throw them all out there because we're might going to need these.
We've used them all up now.
I'm giving you all
going around in this order, then I'll start with. I'll go with. I'll keep it simple. We've already had the first one, George Munker, which passes on to Nathaniel, and then the same name can't be used twice.
Yeah, Ranocchia. I'll take that. Andre Ranocchia.
Will, your name? If you know it, then I say if you know. I can imagine people at home.
Jesus Christ! I'm going to get murdered in a minute.
So it needs to be an A for the second name, right?
Not everyone can perform under pressure, Will. Don't worry, mate.
Yeah, because I thought it was going to be first names. It really fucked me over.
There's a really obvious one.
I know there's a really obvious one.
We've got a time in the top, so I'm going to give you a maximum of 30 seconds on each. So I'm going to say you've already had 15.
It's a whole City legend. Think of one.
No.
Ian Ashby.
What are you doing?
There we
Help him
go.
out.
Nathaniel, why?
We're working as a team, aren't we?
No, that's
gonna
what
I'm
lie.
working as a team anyway.
We're working as individuals right now. And you're on E.
E. Elder.
Oh,
R.
crap.
Oh, we're back to R.
Tick.
Jesus.
Tick. Top.
Come on. Robertson.
Robertson puts me on N. I'm going to go for Alfred Ndai. Puts you on E.
Eves.
S for Will.
God, I'm shit at this. Absolute dogger. Can't even think of anyone.
Have we got 3 of them at the moment?
Probably. I'm past. I can't be asked for this.
All right, I'll throw it out there then. I'll give the answer for that one. I'll throw Smith out there. You know, what have we got?
Why have I lost my note now?
I've got one too.
Let's take a big dish out.
H, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
15 seconds, Anne.
It's suddenly really fucking tricky, isn't it, Anne?
Yeah. Yours was easy.
Yes, it's pretty easy.
I'll have H if you can't get it.
3.
I mean, I've thought of a really good H one.
And
Could be like
South Gordon, Joe.
Huddleston.
Oh, yeah.
Will, you're out. Will, you're out, mate. You're out. Can we not do this?
My problem is
just
I'm not
telling
thinking
Anne
about
how
currency.
silly he is.
I've got one that's not Huddleston. If we want to carry on with H,
Go on then.
gives me an easy pass.
Go on then. Gives you H.
Henriksen.
Oh, yeah, but I hated
Mm.
him. I've got him out of my mind.
This is the hardest part about this. You start thinking about first names, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
The amount of Nathans that have come in my head right now. Noble. Matt Noble. E. Sorry, I put you on E again.
E. Elliot?
Yay!
Yeah, that's
C.
before my time, so it's a bit unsure.
T. Joel.
I put that one in the chat earlier, to be fair, though, didn't I? I was hoping nobody'd use that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, God.
T, come on.
Oh, God. T.
The hardest part
T.
is so many end with like N and S.
Yeah, they do. T.
I think of one.
That once you lose your ag in the first 10 seconds, you've lost it.
Yeah.
So if we want under pressure, we'd
I
name
can't
it
put
like
it
that.
right now.
I can't think of
Stop
one.
it. I'm struggling at the moment.
I can't think of one.
Podcasting.
Right then, so at least we have 30 seconds to think one up. Well, I've had a minute now. Michael Turner.
Oh,
Another R. Can we stop?
Sorry,
Can we ban R? Honestly, okay, right. Richard Garcia, no.
Oh, I've thought of a few actually already for R.
I've just got one for R.
Yeah.
Oh no, Ryan Mason, no. There's so many Ryans, honestly.
Ryan Longman.
Yeah. Row.
Yeah,
Rodney making his own.
Yeah, it is
Well, yeah,
difficult. isn't it?
he's actually
He
just said
said
one,
it.
to be
He said
fair.
Row. Ronnie Row.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Rocky Road.
Row. Oh, I'll have that. Row. Thanks for
He
that.
said Row.
This would be a killer. This is.
That
I
E.
can imagine there's only a few E's.
Oh,
I've got
I've just
a
got
three.
one.
I've got one. Why do I feel like you are thinking of the one I'm thinking of?
Recently.
Now
Yeah.
I'm suddenly
spent a
thinking
short
of ones
time
every
here.
time.
Yeah.
Definitely got
Spent
same price.
2 years here, I think it was.
Oh no, we're on different
No,
player.
it was 3 years, wasn't it? 2.5, 3 years.
Definitely a different player.
If Matt can't get it, we'll name
There's
ours.
actually quite a few recent ones.
Al Mohammadi. There it is.
There's one.
Right. Why?
I was thinking El Abdelawi.
I was
That's
thinking
difficult.
Iman.
Yakubu, no. Something with a Jakob, no. Why? That's very difficult. Have we even had any whys?
Yes, I think we have. I think if I'm right.
Yeah.
Why did I think it was that? I won't take him out of it because I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
no, I don't know why.
Oh dear. Can I have a clue, please? I gave you a clue.
I'm trying to think on myself.
Right?
Trying to think on
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Ooh, no.
Did any Youngs play for us?
Have we had a Yates? We probably had a Yates, right, at some point?
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yates.
Mark Yates.
Mark Yates, yeah.
Mark Yates. Puts me
Yes,
on
then.
S.
All guesses.
Yeah, Nathaniel's just naming random surnames.
It's coming up.
Hey, it works.
It does work, yeah. Yes.
Snodgrass.
Another S then. Snodgrass Jr.? No.
I got one straight away.
Come on, where there's loads of S's.
How can, this is very difficult, isn't it? I wanted to say Sam Clucas, that's wrong.
I was thinking that earlier on.
S. Oh, damn, this is so difficult. This podcast is going to go on forever. Captain? No. Oh, Smallwood, yeah.
There he is. You can have Andy Dawson.
You're in an end
I'll
now.
give you that.
Straight back.
Smallwood.
Straight back.
Dawson. Dawson.
I want to give
I'll
you
have
that,
the
I
other
think,
Dawson. Michael Dawson.
No, it's an N that you're on.
Norton.
Have we had a Norton? No.
How many people at home now going, oh, it's this?
Probably.
It's all right when you're not under pressure.
Yeah.
Take
You've got
me
Google in
off.
front of you.
Take me off, and I bet I get him in the chat like that.
So who's doing what?
And
N
You're
for
an
you.
I'm thinking of an N.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know I was doing one.
Yeah, Matt gave you a straight bounce back with Dawson.
And
I'll give you small.
Nias. Umar Nias.
Oh,
Yeah.
Another E.
yes. Oh, he's put me back on E. Ah.
Me, I just sat here thinking.
I think I'm thinking the same as you, Joe.
To be fair, I've just said one. When
And so have I.
Well, no, if we've gone like in Di Nias, who's the third one? I could go with them.
No, we're on about E.
You've gone the ass. You've gone the ass.
Oh, we're back to E. Right. Oh, fair.
Yeah, Matt's on E because you said Nias.
On it, El Abdeloui.
Yeah.
That counts. Yeah. Omar Abdulawi. So I. Ooh.
Is it an I or a U?
No. It's an I. I'm sure it's an I.
I'm sure it's an I.
Tom Ince.
Another
E.
E. Oh.
Yeah, you're on E now. Matt.
Trying to think of the one that I said now, Matt.
Is it really like? I know it's before your time, but there's quite a famous one.
It's done me. I think you've got it.
I think that's it. You got it. I think
Road
you got time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What
Back on E,
letter am I
there you
doing now?
So you're back on E.
Another E. Evandro. Thanks, Joel. You mouthed that to me.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Okocha.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
A. Alex Bruce.
Let's go.
This is yes.
Best Premier League striker we've ever had.
Oh, what Altidore, Josie Altidore.
Oh, he again!
Back on E.
He again! Oh.
What E's have been said?
I wonder if
El
do you know what's
Abdelawi,
annoying
El
the most?
Mohammadi, Elliot, Ed,
Evandro.
Eves,
Elder.
Evandro.
Elder.
I'm not doing this on
I think we should
purpose.
give some. I can't stop saying Emre in my head and Emerson.
I don't know if it.
You want to just concede?
What did you just say, Matt? What were the two names you just said?
Emre and Emerson.
Oh, there we go. We got one. Emerson.
We're back on
Back
N.
What's in Nathaniel?
Nodgrass. Dame Ndoye.
Yeah.
Endo, yeah. Back
E
on E.
again. Matt just concede, mate. You're done. You're done. He's grounded you.
No, I'm not going down with this. Tommy Elphick.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Oh, I've got one
Okay.
straight away. I've got one straight away.
Okay. Ooh, K.
Oh, the
Ooh,
K's.
Right.
There's a few.
There was a
blimey.
K a few years ago.
Yeah.
I've just got
That
a
got into my head. I don't know why.
I
Kevin
think we're bordering
Hewitt.
now.
No.
Dusan.
Dusan Kushak.
There we go. That's what I was thinking of. Hey, back on K again, Matt.
That's the one you went for.
Hopefully, I should win with this one. Kevin Kilban. You're an E.
I've got an E as well.
Oh, no.
I've got an E.
I
I've
was thinking Kilban.
Another E.
just remembered an E.
Dear me. This is, yeah. I mean,
This is still.
wow. E. Okay. E. Just keep saying E and it'll pop into your head.
No, because you've got a time limit on this, Nathaniel.
Yeah. How long have I got?
You got
About
30
15
seconds.
more seconds.
Oh, right.
15
Okay.
now.
L. No. M. E. I don't know. I'll give up. I don't deserve to be this far. I got very lucky. You gotta give me clues, so I give
Kevin
up.
Ellison.
Oh, that's
Kevin
before my
Ellison,
time.
Putting back on N as well.
Corey Evans. Keith Edwards.
Evans. Yeah,
Now-
sure,
Fucking hell, I forgot about Keith Edwards.
Stephen Hunt was in my head for the entirety of that, but I didn't get a H. Oh, no, I did get a H. I got Henriksen. Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
And we
So,
never played
I'm
it again.
sorry for anybody who listened if that wasn't fun. I'm sure we had a lot of fun. I'm sorry if that wasn't fun. I don't know if you've remembered.
No, we
something
can't play that
else.
again. We've exhausted all the E's
Exactly.
now. So.
The whole point in that was a little bit nostalgia to think about some players that have played for us in the past and some of the more obscure names as well. So
And to highlight which
Louis
amongst
Gennell,
us have
stuff like that, so.
and to highlight which amongst us have performance anxiety.
Exactly.
Hello.
Apologies. But what we'll do there is we'll now move on to previewing the West Bromwich game. Provided
We're gonna
anybody still
lose.
watching, and anybody who's still watching, we're going to preview the West Bromwich Albion game. So, start off with you, Nathaniel. I'm going to ask you, what changes do we need to make?
Sack the manager, get a new owners, buy a few players, change formation.
Before Wednesday?
Yeah, get a new training ground and bring in 5 new academy players. I mean, that's fine. We can do that by Wednesday, can't we?
The bare minimum,
Do
that.
you know, you was missing one thing. There was one thing that we need to change the most, and you didn't mention it.
Start Ryan Longman.
There it is.
I mean,
No, realistically,
I don't disagree with that.
What do we need to do?
What? I mean,
Well, I'm going to ask you because I get an honest answer. What do we need to
yeah,
do?
that's fair.
Who's speaking?
We need to survive. It's going to be like a fucking game of Mortal Kombat, let's be honest. It's just going to be fucking brutal.
Fatality.
I'm not looking forward to the
5-3-2,
trip
is that
there.
what you're thinking?
I'd love it.
Just
but
play
I don't
10 at
see
the
it.
back.
You
So
see,
what we're expecting then?
it's one of these, isn't it? We're going to get we've got the potential for like a 6-goal hammering in this one. If we're so frail at the back, and West Brom have got so much quality going forwards, but so did Bournemouth. So we've proven that we can hold them teams out.
That was a very long time ago.
Yeah, it was. But to me, all the players have come out and said they're more comfortable in a 3-5-2. Why don't we just use that system? McCann's probably like thinking, they said a statement about a takeover. Now you might as well just fucking do what you want. Just go rogue. Play 3-5-2. Yeah, play 3-5-2 and just go for it. Just go for it. Put McLaughlin in. You get the best out of Greaves and Bernard because the progressive centre halves, it gives them space. You probably get the best. Well, I don't know. I'd probably prefer Emmanuel as a wing back, but he's going to put Coyle in. Potentially play Keano as left wing back again. Put Eves and Smith up top, or McGuinness and Smith, whatever combination you want to put up top. Big guy and a guy in behind, and then a midfield that's willing to work hard and just go for it. Try and catch them off guard. They've just been battered 3-0, haven't they? So kick them while they're down. Go for it.
Exactly. So I'll ask you this then, Joel. And if you're going, then you're going to look out for this most. But who's going to be the 2 players that, if they turn up, we've probably got a good chance here?
Our 2 players, if they turn up, what do you mean? I haven't quite hear them. I think in terms of Ingram, if Ingram turns up and is on top form, it'll give us a big chance. And then whoever starts up front. It's quite simple with them 2, I think. If the keeper's on top form and we've got a striker who's banging in any opportunity he's got, then we'll be fine.
So we're going for whoever is up front, because that's the thing we're missing the most. Just putting the ball in the back of the net, and to not even be able to do it once in God knows how many games is just ridiculous. I think it's the last 6 away games now we haven't scored in, or last 5 maybe. But it's the stats are well and truly against us for this game, lads. I've looked at it. I've drawn some stats out, and I can't see one positive. I'll be honest with you. But before I go into the stats and tell you what the actual facts are, who do you reckon is going to be their biggest threat?
They've got so many.
Alex Mowat.
Mowatt's a very good midfielder. His goal threat. Carlin Grant in form.
Carlin Grant, the pen merchant.
He hasn't scored many pens this season, has he? He's been scoring a few from open play. He used to be a pen merchant when he was at Huddersfield.
Yeah.
But,
Snodgrass because he's former City, and that always usually
Livermore's there as well.
Townsend as well.
Yeah, Livermore.
Yeah, Townsend.
That's the only 3. That was going to be one of my questions, but thanks, guys.
Answered it before you. Yeah.
No, ask it. We'll see if we can get the answers.
Yeah. Moving on. But going on to the stats then. So in the last 10 games we've played against these, we've won 2, drawn 2, lost 6. The last 5 times we've been to the Hawthorns, we've lost.
Do you win?
Does anybody know how? Pardon? Yeah,
Would you win then?
Does anyone know how far back we have to go? To
2008.
It was when Giovanni scored a beautiful diving header.
3-0.
Nailed it, yeah.
Kim Giovanni. Zayate scored in the right goal.
Mile in goal.
Do you want to? Does everybody want to know the lineup was?
Oh, go on then.
Fraser Campbell.
This is the town. No, he didn't play.
Oh no, yeah, the 2008 one, yeah. Marlon King.
Yeah.
It was Marlon.
Giovanni.
Right back.
Ricketts.
Was a centre back.
The Ricketts.
Paul McShane.
Really?
Look at that.
Yeah, Ricketts came on after 10 minutes for an injured. Ricketts came on after 10 minutes for an injured Andy Dawson. Then Zayate and Turner at centre back with Dawson left back. Boateng, Ashby, and Marnie as the middle 3 with Gio just in front of them. And then Daniel Couzon and Marlon King. Marlon, not Mylon.
What a partnership.
Yeah, that was the one, wasn't it? So, they're unbeaten in the league this year as well at home. So that's another positive.
Due a loss.
I think it's 7. Yeah. So,
we're not due a win.
You're not making me look forward to this trip.
I know, mate. So the last 4 times they've won, Carlin Grant has scored either first or last. So if you're a betting man, have a go on that. That might not be too bad. And I've already told you this one, but the shot conversion thing at 4%. So that's shocking, isn't it? So we'll finish on the score predictions then. I'll go around you one at a time. And Nathaniel, realistically, I know Ryan Nunley's not going to start, so you can't have his first goal scorer, but what are you thinking score-wise?
3-0 to Hull. No, West Brom. Yeah. Snodgrass, Townsend, and more to score as well.
2-0 to West Brom. 2-0 to West Brom, Snodgrass, and Livermore because fuck us.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a strangely optimistic 2-2 draw. We're going to go 2-0 up.
Are you
be
insane?
like the absolute shock of the division, and then we'll throw it away in the second half and draw.
That's more like it.
That would be more depressing.
We'll be 2-0 up at half time, and everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? And then it'll turn into the usual City in the second half, and we'll lose it.
Maybe.
Or draw.
Proper coupon buster.
Yeah.
Joe?
4-0 West Brom.
Wow.
Optimism's high.
You paid all that money to go watch that. It's an awful ground to go to as well, especially if you don't go.
Hawthorns is a good away day.
You what?
I always thought Hawthorns was a good away day.
No. Did you go on Tiger Travel or did you drive there?
Tiger Travel both times. I've been to Hawthorns twice, and we've won both times.
So
we won 2-1 in the promotion season, and then 3-0 in the Premier League.
So the coach is near the stadium, so you can get straight in the coach. Whereas if you're driving, you've got to walk down this horrible back street, it's disgusting. And you're walking amongst all the West Brom fans. It's just rats. I'm not a fan of it.
Sounds like a driver's problem to me.
Yeah, exactly. But I was living out there for a year, so it wasn't that nice at all. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think that's me being optimistic as well. And I reckon we get a very, very, very late equaliser.
I think even if we came away from the Hawthorns losing 1-0, the fact that we'd only conceded one there, given both of our current positions and form and squad value, would be very...
Yeah.
They'd be like,
10-year
all right,
contract to McCann.
I think, honestly, the players will have a bit of a bounce now that the club have come out and confirmed that there's a takeover in the works. I think a few of them will be playing for... Well, they're probably expecting a new manager to come in at some point, so they'll be trying to put themselves in some sort of
and that manager's
shop window.
Going to be watching game tape from these games, isn't he?
Yeah.
Chris Wilder's been at a couple of games recently.
Yeah, but he's been to a few across the entire league, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
That could be a decent shout, though. Could be a decent shout.
Well, it looks like Alex O'Neill's going to Barnsley, so...
Who's off to Barnsley?
It looks like O'Neill is.
That's
I don't know.
It's Alex Neil.
Alex Neil.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Alex
Wilder
Neil.
goes on holiday to Turkey, apparently. He stays in one of Ocean's villas. So
oh, that's it then.
Could be something in that.
Nailed on. Everyone put all the money on it. Speaking of Turkey,
the Yorkshiremen go
there. Speaking of Turkey, any City fans that are going to West Brom, bring a Turkey flag if you can. We're going to fill that stand. Fill that stand with Turkish. Well, I say fill that stand. We've probably got 200 fans going, but we'll have 200 people over Turkish flag.
So get yourself an Amazon next day delivery. Is yours turned up yet, Joe?
No, I'll get mine tomorrow.
It's not a good idea, is it? Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I get it in time for the.
Right, it's Amazon. Right. It's on Wednesday our game, isn't it? So should be all right.
Right, and so I've had fun filming this one, boys. It's been great. Thank you again to everybody who listens all the time. It has been a bit of a long one. Apologies because we did a lot of 30-second delays in the middle trying to think of players from the past. But we had a bit of fun doing that. So again, thanks a lot for everyone tuning in. Appreciate everyone jumping on tonight and giving up their Monday night so we can create a bit of content. So thanks a lot, everyone. Really appreciate it.